To the fishermen watching, it looked like the ocean had caught fire. On November 14, 1963, a crew off the coast of Iceland saw a black smoke erupt straight out of the sea. They had no idea what they were looking at. What they were actually watching was a brand new island being born. From nothing. And here's the strange part. This island is one of the most restricted places on the entire planet. Only a tiny number of people have ever been allowed to visit it. For an island that's been sitting there for more than 60 years. By the end of this video, I'll show you why one visitor broke the rules to get there, and why what he did is still argued about today. This is the story of Surtsey. Stick around, because it gets weird fast. Picture this. It's the early 1960s. South of Iceland, in the middle of the North Atlantic, there's nothing but open water. No island, no land, just ocean, all the way to the horizon. Then, deep beneath the ocean floor, a volcanic fissure begins to erupt. It doesn't stop. For days, then weeks, it keeps pushing molten rock and ash up through nearly 400 feet of ocean, until it finally breaks the surface. A new island exists, one that had only just appeared, where a month earlier there was nothing but water. Geologists gave a name, Surtsey, after Surt, pronounced Surtur, a fire giant from Norse mythology, said to burn the world at the end of time. An island born from fire, named after the one figure in Norse legend who's supposed to end everything with it. As soon as this island stabilized, scientists realized something rare. For the first time in recorded history, they had a completely sterile, brand new piece of land to study. No life, no contamination, no human interference. This was a blank slate, a chance to watch, from day one, how life colonizes a new environment. Plants, insects, birds, bacteria, all of it tracked from the very beginning. So Iceland made a decision that still shapes the island today. Iceland declared Surtsey a nature reserve, and scientists set their sights on studying it for roughly its first century, with the idea being to let it develop, largely undisturbed, until sometime around 2063. It's not a formal 100-year law exactly. It's more of a long-term scientific goal, one that shapes almost every rule on the island. Only a small number of scientists are allowed to visit each year, and even they follow strict protocols. No outside soil on their boots, no seeds, no bacteria. It sounds excessive until you realize why. If a single outside species hitches a ride onto this island, the entire experiment could be compromised. Then nothing, for months, the island looked completely lifeless. Nothing moved, no birds, no grass, just black rock, still warm in places from the eruption, and the sound of waves hitting an empty shore. The first sign of life came within a couple of years, when the sea rocket seed washed ashore and somehow took root in raw volcanic ash. Researchers hadn't expected life to establish itself that quickly. Mosses and lichens followed, then insects blown in by wind or carried on floating debris. The real turning point came with the first bird nest. Seabirds weren't just visiting. Their droppings brought in nutrients that helped even more plants take hold. Little by little, the island changed. Patches of green began appearing on rock that had been molten only a few years earlier. Try to picture standing there as a scientist who spots that first patch of green. Salt spray still in the air, nothing but empty horizon in every direction. Some researchers have described it less like fieldwork and more like watching a world get built in real time. But that excitement came with a nagging worry. An invasive plant carried in on a boot. A rodent that slips off a boat unnoticed. The stakes weren't just scientific curiosity anymore. They were about keeping tight control over a piece of land sitting in open ocean, exposed to every current and every gust of wind that passes by. The rules didn't hold up perfectly, though. One of the most talked about incidents involves a researcher who reportedly planted a potato on the island, secretly, to test whether a food crop could take root in Surtsey soil. It was discovered and quickly removed before it could spread. On its own, that might sound small, but it's exactly why it matters. If even one scientist, someone who fully understood the stakes, who'd been briefed on the rules, who cared about the research, still couldn't resist testing the island for himself, What does that say about the rest of us? Even under strict international oversight, the ecosystem stayed one careless decision away from being altered forever. Surtsey survived being born in fire, but the thing threatening it now isn't people at all. It's losing a much slower, much quieter fight, one against the ocean itself. Since it formed, Surtsey has been shrinking. Waves have worn away at its edges for decades, and some geologists estimate that within a few hundred years, a large portion of the island could erode back beneath the waves, which raises an uncomfortable possibility. The scientific project might not get to see its own conclusion. An island born from fire, worn down by water, long before anyone finishes studying it. And this idea, something staying untouched on purpose, so it doesn't lose what makes it what it is, isn't unique to Surtsey. There are people living that same principle right now. Not islands, cultures, scattered across the planet. There are tribes who made the same choice Iceland made for this island. Keep the outside world out, so nothing gets lost, nothing gets diluted, nothing gets erased. Surtsey is what happens when nature is left alone to write its own story. What happens when entire human cultures do the exact same thing? That's what I'm covering next. So here's where Surtsey leaves us. Protected by some of the strictest access rules of any scientific site on Earth, quietly building an ecosystem while most of the world isn't watching. It may not survive long enough to complete the very research it was set aside for, a place where scientists have watched an ecosystem write its own story from the very first page, without any outside interference to shape how it turns out. And that's the real reason Surtsey might not make it to the finish line of its own research project. A reminder of how much we still don't fully understand about the places closest to us. But if the idea of something staying untouched on purpose caught your attention, wait until you see what I found next. There are tribes living today who made that exact same choice. Cultures the modern world barely knows exist, some of them by design. 11 of the most extraordinary ones are in the next video, and a few of them are stranger than anything on this island. That one's coming next week. If you don't want to miss it, hit subscribe.